Oh,
Yeah.
what's a chronograph?
But
What's
they
the
also had a
difference?
chronograph.
Oh, watch. Oh, right.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
having
funny.
chronology. God damn it.
Yeah, those things are crazy. Like,
Yeah.
that was how they used to listen to music. A tuba attached to a needle.
That's right. And you'd hear.
And the speaker must have
Vinyl.
sounded like dog shit.
My dad used to have a dust cover for his turntable, and he would. There was a ritual to how you clean your LP.
Oh, there's a ritual?
Yeah, you gotta dust it off. You have a special cloth and all that.
Look at
shit.
that thing.
Yep, that's
Just
what we
take
had.
a peek at that fucker. Look at that.
Mhm.
That's nuts.
It's
For
incredible.
people at home, it does look like a traffic cone, right? It does, right? Like a big old brass traffic
The
cone.
little needles
I
right
read.
there.
I read that Ted Williams, the great. This might have been a myth, but the great baseball player Ted Williams, who could hit a fastball, hit any kind of ball, and he apparently could read the label of a record as it was going around. His eyes could slow shit down.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if that's true.
I wonder, oh, yeah. You know,
These
it
are one of
sounds like
these
a
things
good
you hear,
story.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Joe Frazier was in a hotel room. There were 4 flies in the room. They were sorry about the
Yeah.
flies. And he went and caught them all. And he goes, "Here are your flies." Get the fuck out of here.
Eddie Griffin was
Smoking
telling us
Joe.
a Bruce Lee story once. It was one of those.
Yeah.
I heard
He killed
that Bruce Lee was in a fight with 30 men. And he stood in the center of all of them. And you're like, wait. Where'd you hear this stuff?
I heard he never was in a ring. I heard he never sparred once. I don't think Bruce Lee
Oh,
ever
it
fought.
says it here.
Did he ever fight competitively?
It was rumored. No, but
Yeah.
he did one thing once where he sparred at like this karate festival.
One sparring session. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck.
That you could see.
Good luck against a
It
guy
says
like
to be able to
Darren
read
Till.
the label on the no. Good luck to everybody against a guy like Darren Till.
Yeah, that's
good
true.
luck.
Good luck. I mean, God.
Yeah, Vinny Shorman, he does color commentary for a lot of big Muay Thai events.
Yeah.
And super knowledgeable, like as a striker, and he's
Mhm.
also a hypnotist. I got hypnotized by him a couple times.
Really?
I kept my pants on. Yeah, but,
Damn it.
but he got me.
Sorry.
Yeah, he hypnotized me. Fascinating. Hypnotism is fascinating.
Did you get hypnotized? Because you're
100%.
Really?
Yeah, I gave into it. Yeah, just let yourself achieve the state. But you realize what it is. It's like, oh, you've got this idea where like someone can like turn you into Manchurian Candidate if they hypnotize you and you wouldn't have control of your brain anymore. Like,
Yeah,
no. You're
no.
relaxing.
Yeah.
You're relaxing and you're open to suggestion in an interesting state of mind that you can achieve.
Right.
See, like, I think there's a larger spectrum of the way the mind works than we give it credit for. And I think, I've been thinking about this a lot, that's one of the things that happens with stand-up. I think if you're on stage and you're killing in stand-up, if I'm in the audience, it's like you've got me hypnotized. I'm locked up into your line of thinking, and like your act is very silly. So like when I'm watching you, like I start thinking in silly ways, and then you'll keep getting sillier and sillier, and then like I'm locked into your head. It's like it's a form of hypnosis.
100%.
And I think that so is like being in a good place. Thank you, young Jamie. So is being in a good place mentally. So is being in a bad place. I think there's a large spectrum in the mind of all these different. Cheers. Where are you going, fucker? You can't.
What kind of wine?
Cheers.
Stag sleep.
Stag Leap is fantastic.
Is it?
Artemis.
Cheers, Jim.
It's all right. It's a
Freaking
solid wine. It's a
wine.
good juice, guys.
Like gentlemen.
I like when people say it's a good juice. It's a good juice.
Hey, those guys are gross. Hey, you guys who say it's a good juice and you're talking about wine.
It's a sexy juice.
Stop talking
Honestly,
to
it's
me.
a sexy juice. Kind of feels like a.
Can't talk to you.
It's like taking a big bite out of wet hay.
Not gonna do it.
It's like having a wet dog
It's a great juice.
shake itself at you.
Have you ever gone to like a real wine tasting with a bunch of nerds?
Sure have.
They're
Because I'm one of those
amazing.
nerds.
Have you ever gone to a wine tasting where you graded a wine and
No.
you stood up and said it has woody aftertones and there's a
I was
hints of
invited.
oak?
I was invited by a guy a long time ago, 20 years ago, and he said, "I'm going to invite you to a wine tasting where we all bring our own wines." And he said, "He's a good guy." I said, "Well, what do I bring?" And he said, "I don't want to insult you, but you can't afford the kind of wines that we're bringing. So I'm going to bring you a bottle from my cellar, so it doesn't make you look." That's how big these wines were. And I was there with the guy from like Zacky's or whatever they're different Sotheby's, the guys that set the standard and write the thing. And I was watching him taste it and write down notes. It was really wild. Nutmeg,
God damn,
leather,
man.
mushrooms, earth, all kinds of weird tasting notes. It's so subjective.
My buddy Matt is a huge wine head. Like he's got his own cellar in his house. It's all temperature controlled. And if I'm at a restaurant, I'll call Matt, powerful Matt Lichtenberg. I'll call him up and I'll go, hey, okay, let me tell you what I got.
Yeah.
Tell me what to get.
Yeah.
And he'll just like, oh, the reason why this one sucks, and stay away from this one, and this is what you want. That's your groove right there. Grab that one. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
And he's always right.
Yeah.
LeBron's been known as a new wine head, and he posted
Okay,
some of
that's
his bottles the
Asaikaya.
other
That's
day.
Asaikaya is a ridiculously good one. I've had that at 97.
So LeBron is a wine head.
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah, he has some quite a few bottles of Opus One apparently, which is
Opus 1 is not. That's Asaikaya is way better than Opus 1.
all right.
Look at what he wrote here. Last night was mad real, fresh out of Advil. Jesus grabbed the wheel. Sheesh. Imagine getting fucked up with LeBron James.
I think I brought that wine to your the one with the yellow.
I think you
label.
did.
I think I
you
brought
did.
that here.
I think you did. Yeah, it looks very familiar. Yeah, it's some good ass fucking wine.
Chasson Montrachet.
Good ass wine, Mr. Super. Good ass wine, Mr. Super Athlete.
There you go.
That's a real one.
Yeah,
Wow.
shit.
There's some real super athletes we go listen.
He's an
I don't give
avatar.
a fuck what kind of steroids you take. You ain't never gonna look like that.
Never.
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 Like there's human beings that have just the most unfathomable physical advantages.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Like LeBron James would have like an unfathomable physical advantage over someone who would have an unfathomable physical advantage over you.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I did a
that's-
thing. I asked the guy who follows this, Jimmy Burke, about LeBron James.
Oh,
I called
Jimmy
him up
Burke.
and I left him one message. I said, Jim, and I want you to be honest and don't insult me. At what age did LeBron James surpass me as an athlete? And be careful with your fucking answer.
He said
because
8.
because I'm a proud man. I'm a
Did he
proud
say
man,
8?
and I'll kick your fucking ass. I hung up the phone. I got a very thoughtful dissertation, and I just got this. 12 years old, and there's no question about that. 12. By the time he was 14, he's 6'4", 235, best player in the country. You were not that. You're not even close to that.
He was 14.
Yeah.
He was 6'4".
Yeah, I think he was 6'4". Look at him. Yeah, he's a freak. Yeah, there you go.
Look at the size of him.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he's 6'9", 265, and I sat next to Carlos
Oh, my
Boozer,
God.
who played with him, and they're the same size. And he goes, he's just a step faster than everybody as well, and just ridiculously strong.
Well, see, a guy like that, if he was fighting, everybody would be fucked.
Of course.
They're lucky.
Yeah.
They are goddamn lucky there's that much money in basketball.
That's right. He's
That
incredibly
LeBron
fast
James
and
got
everything
into that. And people go, well, you know what, man? Some things that make a great
Look at him.
basketball
There you go.
player wouldn't necessarily make you a great fighter. Listen to me. Save it. That guy's gonna beat your fucking ass.
Yeah.
He's a winner.
Yes.
There's just a certain level of winners that like he'd do whatever the fuck he wants.
Whatever he wants.
Bo Jackson could have done
Same thing.
whatever the fuck he
I worked
wanted.
with Bo Jackson for a week.
Did you?
Yes, I did. And he was, and I said, "Oh, what do you weigh?" He was in a white T-shirt, and I was looking at the thickness of his fingers. You know me, I obsess because I'm basically a gay man. So I was looking at his hands. I grabbed his hands. It was just this giant meat, and I said, "What do you weigh?" He goes, He said, I remember it was so weird. He was so specific. He said, "I'm 6'1 and a half, 240 pounds, 245 pounds." And he was the same size when he played, and he never has lifted weights in his life, ever. And he didn't lift weights when he played. He would just, as in his words, I'd just strap it on, and I'd hear the other team going, Bo's in the game, Bo's in the game. But you have to also understand that Bo Jackson not only did whatever he wanted to you on the football field, faster than everybody at 245 and stronger, he was also was he not an MVP in baseball?
All-Star at least. I don't know if
All-Star?
MVP, but for
Yeah.
sure All-Star. Yeah.
That's unheard of. Deion Sanders played both ways, but there's no one like Bo Jackson.
Freak.
That's crazy. Throwing BBs, throwing fucking ropes from center field. I mean, a whole different kind
And
of guy.
one tackle, one hip injury.
That's right.
Changed all that shit.
Well, it was his hip started to die. It was some kind of necritis in his bone or something like
It's
that.
from getting hit. There was a very famous hit that he got tackled. You could see like the impact that it has on his hips when he goes down. At least
Yeah.
am I remembering that
Yeah, no,
correctly?
it was,
There was a
against the
video of it,
Bengals,
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, you see the injury, and it's like
just a
oof.
ridiculous athlete.
And still came back and was smashing home runs with a fake hip. Came back and played baseball. Just
Yeah.
couldn't really run
Yeah.
anymore, you know?
just a different kind of
I
guy.
wonder if they could fix that hip now. You know? You think about what his hip was then and what his hip is now. Like,
Well, I think you'd have
if they-
to
they
you'd have to
go in
generate
there.
tissue. So I don't know if we're there yet, but we're getting close.
What I mean is like the artificial hips. I wonder if those are better now. I don't know.
Did you read a book called *Sapiens*? I sent you, probably not, but Yuval Harari. Everybody should read it. It's an amazing book, and it's a brief history of mankind, but it brings us to present day. And he also wrote another book called *Homo Deus*, I think.
When did you send this to me?
I sent you a screenshot. I said you got to read this book. But,
okay.
But he talks about where we're headed technologically. He's really done the research. I mean, really looking honestly at what
medical research,
what to expect in the next 30 years.
What does he say?
Well, I mean, you know, not only are we going to live much longer if you have the money, but the real question he ends the book with in a way is, we have to decide as human beings for the first time in our history we can control our own evolution. So we have to ask ourselves what we want to become. That's a really big responsibility. What do you want to become? What do we want to become? Because that question can be answered. We will have the technology to answer that question. And it can get silly where you can say we could splice our genes with a lion or with a gorilla, but more importantly, we'll be able to splice our genes with synthetic biology and become but it's a very heavy question. What do you if you want to live forever, if you become what he called, I think it was amoral, or there's a different word for
People
it.
are gonna get mad at you for fucking 50-year-olds. Like, they don't know anything yet. God, how could you fuck a 50-year-old? You'd be like 1,000 years old.
I know.
You'd be so smart and so wise. People go, you know how gross you are? You're fucking someone who's 50 years old. Like, as a human, we figured, look, we only think of ourselves as like, oh, you should have your shit together by 50, because we know we only live to be 100. But the reality is most people don't get their shit together, period.
Yeah.
Like, it's a race that nobody's winning.
Yes.
But we all know that if we had an infinite amount of time, we would keep getting better at getting our shit together. You would not be who you were yesterday, and hopefully you'd be much better than you were a year ago.
But I think about something different. Like,
if that's the case, though, if you get to 900 years old, are you still allowed to bang 50-year-olds? Like, if they
she's a
regenerate,
fucking kid, bro.
I mean, when is it okay? I mean, if she's super hot.
Well, vampires fuck like 30-year-olds.
Right, but we're talking about people, bro. Well, we're talking about like
apparently not if we can live that long.
No, if they figure out medical science, and this is not outside the realm of possibility. They can regenerate tissue and use stem cells to rejuvenate your body, and you live 900 fucking years old. Are you allowed to bang 50-year-olds, or are you gross?
Well, it takes, but then actually, what I think the answer is, it takes time, and it flips it on its head. I mean, time no longer has a consequence, because there's not. You don't really have limitations. The biggest thing about human beings, right, is that we have limitations. We know we're going to die. That's the fundamental difference between sort of the idea of a robot being just like a human. We are defined by our limitations.
Right, but you know why they bring the draft around and try to get young people to get drafted. They don't want to go after 40-year-olds and 50-year-olds because it won't work.
Right.
Like, I wonder if it gets to a certain age. I wonder if you live to a certain age and like cults just don't work anymore. I wonder if it only works up until you're like 50 or 60 or 70. But if people live forever, it would be just like telling Santa Claus to like a little kid. Like, you tell Santa Claus to your 5-year-old, they're like, whoa, Santa Claus is real. You tell Santa Claus to a 15-year-old, they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? The same kid. You're like, Dad, you're retarded. Like, stop this.
It depends on how whether you or not you've broadened your understanding. There are a lot of old people that are not.
But if you're a cult leader and you're 900 years old and you're just banging all these 50-year-old ladies, you're an asshole. They're like little kids still.
Maybe.
Well,
50-year-olds are not going to look like 50-year-olds. They're going to look like us.
Really hot. But my point is, like, they're still going to be naive.
Yeah.
They still put fucking holy water on themselves. They still do, there's going to be like weird shit.
But they'll be attracted to the 900-year-old because you'll be full of wisdom.
Plus, you'd be like a sorcerer.
Yeah.
What kind of power you to have? You're 900 years old.
Well, as you get older, the mystery of life breaks down. You remember when you're younger and you see somebody who's really good at something, you're like, God, they're a genius. And then you kind of you get to a certain age where you get good at something, or you just start to, you do it enough, and you go, there's a certain formula to success. Like, sometimes, like, to be really good at something, there's a mindset for competition. But to be really good at something also just requires a shitload of repetition and good tutelage.
There's
like
a lot
good
of that.
coaching.
A lot of focus. And one of the things that you recognize in people when you see enough people that are like really truly awesome at something, you see enough of them, you start to recognize this like thing. Like, I especially can see it in musicians because I have zero talent. Because I have zero musical talent whatsoever.
Right.
Zero.
Have you ever tried to actually hold a tune? You ever try to just try this? Try to sing. All serious. Don't laugh.
No.
Try to sing. Just look at me. It's embarrassing, but do it. Try to sing. I want you to sing Silent Night, Holy Night. Try to hit it, then do it right, and then I'm going to try it. It's so hard.
So nervous.
It's so vulnerable. I'm asking you to sing 2 verses.
But isn't it funny that like making noises with your mouth
It's
is very
vulnerable.
Silent night, holy night.
That's not bad.
All is calm.
Can you not be that whispery? Can you get a little power?
All is bright.
There you go.
Down young virgin mother and child. What's the rest?
I don't know.
Something in heavenly peace?
Holy infant, so tender and mild.
Holy infant, so tender and mild. I forgot already.
Sleep.
We have to go up.
Heavenly peace. I went immediately to the douchebag singer voice, the whispery.
I know you did,
voice.
but you know what you
Tried
had.
to
I
Bruce
think you were
Springsteen
on tune though. I think he was tuned, wasn't he, Jamie?
Tuner and key. Are you going key or tune?
Don't trust anybody who talks to you like that. Listen to me, ladies.
That's my joke where I do. I talk about that. I go, you can say nice dress, just don't whisper it. That's where it's creepy.
That's funny.
That's one of my. I was like, there's certain things you can't whisper in life. Like you can be like, your daughter is so cute. If you're like, your daughter is so cute, it's creepy.
The creepy voice is recognized, but you know what? You know what is a fucking confusing ass voice? Is the scary voice. You know, the scary voice, like next on Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Like anybody talk, like any scary monster, like, and then they went down the dark, dark road.
Yeah.
Like what?
Those people who have that kind of
Scary voice.
this summer.
And here's another one that doesn't work.
Hell just got on my water.
All the hottest girls. All the hottest dancing. Like that kind of like hot and sexy.
Those are those old commercials, remember? And
Right, but there's like a weird rhythm to the way they're talking. It's like they're establishing very clear parameters for vocabulary. Oh, the hottest girls. There's not going to be some soliloquies on your interpretation of consciousness as you know it versus the subjective view of the universe. No. It's all the hottest girls. All the hottest dancing. It's like you have these like really short sentences.
well, so
without
we're
much
really in
depth.
tune. We're in tune with those rhythms.
Right. Those girls are saying, look, to cut the bullshit, we're down to fuck. We got fake tits and we're drunk. That's what they're saying with that voice. Like that's what that voice is.
Did you ever hear the experiment they did where they played doctors? So they took different doctors and some had been sued a lot, and then they just took the doctors at bedside. They recorded them speaking, and they took out the words so you could only hear the tone of their voice. And people said, I don't like that guy. And they didn't even know what they were saying. They said, I don't like that guy. And without almost, like most of them chose the doctors that had been sued. And it turned out that they had a dominant tone. So that their tone and the sound of their voice was what people objected to. And because their bedside manner was, this is out of Malcolm Gladwell's book, their bedside manner was dominant. They weren't sort of understanding and listening. They were rather telling the patient something. Those were the doctors, regardless of their errors or what they did. That had nothing to do with their degrees. Didn't even have to do with what they did. Those were the ones that got sued for malpractice.
Yeah, now I remember. That's from Blink, right?
Yes, I think it's from Blink.
Blink's a great book.
Yeah, it is.
It's great. And it's a great audio book, too. I got that one on audiobook.
I listened to it on audio.
Whew, it's very
I
important.
always listen to shit on audio. I listen to Sapiens on audio.
It's very
'cause
good.
I drive.
Yeah, it's a very good way to, I like podcasts, but I like to mix it up. It's like I don't want to only watch documentaries. I like watching fiction too. I like to mix things up with what I take in and what I view. But I think that like audio books in particular, it's a great way to utilize like wasted time.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Instead of listening to music, I listen to a whole course on Nietzsche.
How crazy was that story in Blink about the artwork where they found this old statue and this art expert looked at it for a second and went, "It's fake. How much did you pay
remember
for
what
it?
came to his
Just bring
mind?
it back."
Remember the word that came to his mind?
forget.
That's
What'd he say?
fascinating. He knew it was fake because
Knew.
Nope, close.
What was it?
So it was supposed to be a statue that was buried for 3,000 years, a kudos,
Right.
like a fully formed. Kudos is young boy in Greek, so it's a fully formed like statue, which is near Thessaloniki or something. And they tested the rock. The marble came from a quarry near there. They even tested the mold, which actually turned out to be something they put on potatoes, but the mold seemed legit and all that stuff. But the minute he saw it, he said, "Can you get your money back?
Yeah.
This is a fake." And he didn't know why, but the first word that came to mind was fresh.
Fresh.
Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah, it makes
That's not what you're
sense.
supposed to hear.
But isn't it crazy that he was right?
Yeah.
That you could just see, like for you and I, it would be like, wow, crazy statue. You know what I mean? we wouldn't have, but there's certain things that I'm sure you could see. You know,
Sure.
like there's certain things. Like here's one that I see all the time. I see when people are about to spin. From all my years of Taekwondo,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like a little simple dip that people go. He's looking to
I've
spin
heard you call that a lot.
all the time because you see, once you learn it when you're a little kid because you've been kicked in the head a few times.
Yep.
Like it becomes a part of your life.
Pattern
So
recognition.
You see this little thing. Oh, he's trying to spin. He's trying
Yep.
to spin. You know, and you see it. Whereas a regular person was like, "How the fuck are you seeing that?" Well, I've seen it because people have hit me.
Yeah.
Don't get hit by that.
Yeah.
Like when you see that move, like, oh, get out of there.
Yeah. Well, one of the wealthiest guys, my friend who made $1 billion more, his buddy is worth some crazy amount of money. And said, "What's your secret?" And he said, "Mirrors and windows." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I can tell if somebody's going to pay me back. I can tell if somebody's a good investment or not." And he said, "Well, how?" And he goes, "You either got windows or you got mirrors for eyes. And if you got mirrors for eyes, you can go fuck yourself. If you got windows, I'm going to lend you money." And that's an instinct he would just pick up on. He could
That's
pick up
so
on
real.
sincerity, and he could pick up on whether or not you were a phony.
You know, that's a real problem with communicating with people in nonverbal ways, in non face-to-face ways.
Yeah.
It's a real problem with like texting and stuff like that. You're not looking into the person. Like I think it changes the way we talk to each other. It changes interactions, and I think most of the problem that people have most of the time with each other is not talking. Like today, and especially not
Yeah.
talking enough, looking at each other in the eyes.
That's exactly
and
right.
figuring out like if maybe someone's right and maybe you're wrong about something, you got to talk to them and you go, okay, well, what did you think I was supposed to do? And I did that. Okay, and what time were you supposed to be there? What time did we say? I thought we said this, and you can try to figure it out. Well, you're looking at each other,
Right.
You know, when someone could say, "Look, man, I was really bummed out. You know, it was this really important thing. You were supposed to pick me up," and
Right.
then you could work it out. You
Yeah.
could look at each other and work it out. But when you go through these series of text messages, I've had text message discussions with people like, "Hey, man, I can't do this. Like, let's just talk. Can we just
Right.
talk? Because this is crazy. Because I don't know what your face is making when you're making this statement. Like you're saying something and it's not entirely accurate, and I'm trying to figure out what the fuck your face looks like. Are you laughing? Is this LOL?
Right.
Can we look at each other? Because I bet we could work this shit out. You know?
That is the problem with reading sometimes about something and thinking you're getting the whole picture. What I like about Thaddeus Russell is that his book, A Renegade History of the United States, I think it's called, he actually takes a look at things that I've never heard. I was a history major, and historians tend to be pretty conservative, stodgy people, right? They're not. Well, your average college professor is a pretty conservative guy, even though he might be very left wing. They're conservative people. They're not. You're not going to find them at an orgy or usually or various things, and especially with historians. And when they write history, they always write it from this really stodgy kind of. You hear about the events. You actually don't hear about what it was like in the brothels. You don't hear about what it smelled like in the bars. You don't hear about the noise. You don't hear about things that actually have an effect on people. Who were the criminals? How safe were the streets? Where were the prostitutes? Who was actually getting laid? Was there a lot of black and white sex that went on during the Revolutionary War era, which apparently there was? What about dancing?
I
Were
bet
the
there's
Irish
a lot
mixing?
of dirty white ladies that got some dark dick in.
I can only hope. I can
Woo!
only hope.
It's the ultimate fuck you to your dad.
Yes, it is.
Can you imagine?
Yes, it is.
How many chicks just fucking couldn't wait?
I know. As soon as the
Yeah.
veil was lifted,
Yeah.
as they say.
My dad is fighting to keep you a slave. And I'm fighting to suck your dick. Could you imagine?
Shit. Sounds like the title
Some
of it.
hot, dirty white girl with freckles.
Apparently there was a lot of that. Because what they would do is the Irish would come in, they were indentured servants, then you had the black slaves, and they'd dance. They would go, there'd be like these speakeasies, and everybody would mingle. It'd be late at night, beautiful black women, and the black and the white dudes be like, dude, these girls are hot, and there was mixing and everything else, and there was all kinds of shit like that. Remember, Slavery was being talked about as a great moral evil really back when this country was founded. What really kind of, one of the things they say that kept slavery going another 100 years was the cotton gin. Was the fact that Eli Whitney invented a machine that made it fucking really, really easy to separate the seed from the cotton. And as a result, this guy comes up with a great invention, and as a result, they were like, whoa, 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 we got all this free labor down here. I'm not freeing slaves. This shit is white gold. I can send it to Europe, and there's an insatiable demand for my cotton. Fuck that. I'm not going to have, my whole economy's built on the fact that I got all this free labor and I'm making a fortune. So, you know, a lot of historians kind of talk about how Eli Whitney invented a machine that was really efficient, but might have been responsible for keeping an entire group of people in slavery for...
That is so crazy to think about.
Like,
you know,
came up with an idea.
Before he came up with the cotton gin, most of the clothes were made out of hemp.
Mm-hmm.
They used to use hemp fiber for everything, and apparently it's way better than cotton.
It's stronger for sure,
way
right?
stronger. Todd McCormick, do you remember my friend Todd McCormick? He had this stalk of hemp in his house, and it was like from a hemp tree, and it's like it's from another planet. It doesn't seem like it's a real thing.
It's why?
Really hard, but it's really light. Like it's light, like balsa wood, but it's hard like oak. Like it's weird.
It's cool.
And he was explaining it to me, and he knows way more about weed than I do. But he was like, "Dude, it's an alien planet. It's an alien plant, rather.
It's a very hardy weed, right?
It's an alien plant. It's like no other plant. It has all the essential amino acids. You get essential oils from it. It has protein in it, a very high protein content. Like you can eat hemp seeds are great for you. They're really healthy, and you can make clothing out of it. You can make fuel out of it, hemp fuel. Henry Ford made the first fenders on the first Model T out of hemp fibers.
Really?
Yeah. There's a video of him hitting them with a hammer, and the hammer bounces off these hemp fenders. They're far more durable than steel.
That's crazy.
It's an insane fiber, man. It doesn't make any sense. It literally is like no other fiber on the planet. It's a really complex fiber. And it's illegal.
And it's illegal. You can grow hemp, can't you? You can grow hemp. You just can't grow the female plant.
And the government is doing their best to make CBDs being regulated by the FDA. They're all trying to stop CBD. There's people that are trying to stop CBD. It doesn't even have a psychoactive effect on you.
Well, the guy who invented I don't know if he invented the dark web, but the Silk Road guy, Ulbricht.
Yeah, I got to point this out. Yeah. This is really important, though, before I forget. The CBD oil, folks. I'm reading a lot of reports online of people testing CBD, and it tests positive for THC. Greg Fitzsimmons talked about this. He said that he tried CBD oil, and it got him high. I don't know what he used, which company he used, but the studies that I've read where people have actually got them tested, there is THC in some of them. So you got to be careful, like especially if you have some UPS job or somewhere that I don't know if UPS tests
or an
your
athletic
piss.
competition.
Someplace where they test your piss. If you take CBD oil for pain and inflammation, you got to really make sure you trust the sources, because I guess apparently it can have THC in it. Didn't you point that out?
I don't know if I did, but I've seen that same thing in the last like 2 weeks.
I think you're the one who told me about it first. Yeah, it's not just because we were talking about Greg. Like Greg gets high off CBD oil. I'm like maybe it's just like a super lightweight. But I don't think so.
Maybe.
I think there's some weed in some of them.
Greg might just be super sensitive.
Loves the weed.
Yeah.
I think if you just give him regular CBD oil, I bet he'd be fine.
It might not even just be the CBD oil. I've noticed some like head shops in states that it's not recreationally available. They're selling it in the same form as like dabs and concentrates, and you smoke the CBD the same way you would smoke that heavy concentrated shit.
Whoa.
And that crazy like dab rig with a hot torch. And
so you smoke CBD oil that doesn't get you high in the dab rig.
Yeah, and that, I don't know if that's what it is.
Somebody gave me CBD oil to sleep better. It didn't work.
Didn't?
I'll tell you what works. Smoking weed.
You have a hard time sleeping?
Yeah.
What?
Not anymore so much, but I always worry.
Yeah, that'll do it.
You know.
Yeah.
I worry that you just go. It's interesting. Sometimes I feel guilty about being so lucky. I get into my really soft bed and I do what I love, and I'm like, when is the other foot going to drop here?
If you really stop and think about how lucky you are in comparison to the vast majority of human beings on the earth,
it's ridiculous. What?
Yeah.
Well,
I have zero tolerance for people that talk about how hard things are today. Like, they're complicated today.
Yeah.
They're not hard. It's complicated. It's way
man.
more complicated. Of course, there are hard moments. No one's denying your pain and your hard moments.
But if you get a cut on your hand, you're not going to get gangrene.
Yeah, it's just way easier.
There are little things. You don't have to worry about the pox.
Yeah, there's so much more today. It's this is a fucking crazy time, and it's still the thing about this time is the good thing about it is we're overpopulated, we're crazy, the system we're operating on doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but you could still go into the woods at any moment. Like there's a place where you can go right now where you can go in the woods. Like you can go to Big Bear and you just go for a hike.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you're in the forest. Like, oh, this shit's still real. This is still here too.
Right.
You know, life is crazy and life's bizarre, but we haven't completely turned the whole world into a city.
That's true.
Like, guess what, bitch? That's coming.
Yeah.
If you look how goddamn big Los Angeles is, how much of it is covered in concrete and streets, and then the streets go off everywhere like veins. And oh, by the way, 200 years ago, no streets. They weren't there.
But aren't wildernesses expanding in this country? Is that wrong?
I do not think that wildernesses are expanding.
There's more grazing land and stuff. I don't know. I mean, we're definitely suffering from urban sprawl, but I was surprised to see how little, like the percentage of the continental United States that's actually inhabited, that actually has houses and on it, was really small. It surprised the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's pretty small. Super. It's crazy
like
how
6%
concentrated
or
it
something.
is too.
Yeah.
In these little areas. But like these people that live in these small towns, like all across the country, that is a big reason also why Trump won. They just felt totally unrepresented by all the people that live on the sides.
I also think it's because they had, I think 50% of Americans have, what, $500 in their bank account?
Something crazy.
Yeah,
I think
so,
it might be less than that.
Right.
I think it's $400.
Well, if it's $400, you think about that. So that's why I get mad when people characterize. I don't like Trump. But I never liked when people characterized all Trump supporters as racist, etc. I thought it was unfair because I think the majority of people want to live in some dignity. And they had Obama, 8 years of Obama, say what you will, but their lives didn't change for a lot of reasons. I don't think Obama's to blame. There's a lot of reasons. Then along comes Hillary speaking the same exact language. So if you're going to blame people for saying, wait, under 8 years, I still only have $400 in my pocket. Here comes a woman who's speaking the same language. Oh, and by the way, there's a lot of rumors about her being corrupt. I have nothing to lose. I'm going to try that other guy.
Did you see what Donna Brazile wrote about one of the reasons why she came out with her book? It was after Seth Rich got murdered. She called him a patriot.
Wow. I didn't know Seth Rich got. Oh, that's right.
That was that guy who worked for the DNC. That was a Bernie Sanders supporter. The WikiLeaks has alluded to the fact that he leaked them information. He got shot in front of his house.
Wow.
And it became this big conspiracy theory where people would mock you for saying it was a conspiracy, and then Hannity ran with it, and so it became clearly that for a lot of people the Seth Rich conspiracy theory that it was nonsense. Nobody knows what happened to that guy though. He was murdered. He had his watch on. He had his phone with him. He had his wallet on him. Nobody took anything from him. They shot him at 4 o'clock in the morning. Who knows what happened? But when WikiLeaks starts saying that you gave them information and that there's consequences to you giving them information, one of two things is happening. Either WikiLeaks has decided all of a sudden to start lying and making things up about people, or two, they were misinformed and someone was pretending to be this guy and sending them information. It's always possible if they didn't meet face to face. Or three, they're telling you something you didn't know, that this guy who was just shot and murdered was leaking information about the DNC, and how the DNC was corrupted by the Hillary Clinton group, which is what Donna Brazile is saying in her book. And that this guy released that and showed how the primaries were rigged against Bernie Sanders, and that Hillary, Ari was sending me excerpts from it the other day. He's like, dude, Donna Brazile was saying that Hillary was in control of the DNC before the primaries.
So is the implication that Hillary might have had something to do with his murder?
That's the implication.
Problem is that the information was already out.
Right, but maybe he had more, and maybe they were punishing him to stop other people from doing the same thing. Maybe other people had more information. You know, I don't know if it's true, but there was another guy that disappeared recently. This is a guy who had dirt on the Clintons. Some guy vanished. This is like really recent. Like, see if you can find that one. Some guy just type in Google Clinton dirt, and this is like from Newsweek. So there's people have vanished, and I don't know how many of them have been murdered. People suicide themselves. I don't know how many of them actually suicide themselves.
Right.
But it could. Let's just say 1 out of 10. Just 1 out of 10 was an actual murder.
Right.
This guy, academic at the heart of Clinton dirt campaign, vanishes.
What?
Leaving trail of questions. This is really recently. See, they figured out when you kill people,
this might be
it's
the
way
Russians
harder.
too.
Maybe, could be.
Usually,
when you kill people, it's like, God damn, how'd this body get here? But when people just vanish,
damn, That's crazy. He just disappeared. Where's Eddie when I need him? Where's Mr. Bravo when I need him?
Crazy. He'd be going crazy about that one.
Yeah, but
He loves a good
Eddie's
one.
conspiracies
Illuminati
turn
one.
in on themselves because he'd be like, he's disappeared, but he's not really. What if he's not really dead? What
that could be
if?
that. Eddie, he loves himself a conspiracy. He gets so excited.
Yeah, I know.
It's like watching a
Well,
guy
it gives
who's
him a
super
community,
into
too.
sports. Like a dude who's super into sports.
Uh-huh.
You know, like he fucking, you want to talk
All I'm
Lee Harvey
saying,
Oswald
all I'm
with him?
saying, is it's a little weird.
Well, you know what I tried to, someone was like, well, why does he enjoy conspiracies? I said, well, first of all, he enjoys them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, enjoy what you like. But also, Eddie's always been really good at, like, shutting down people not believing in his ideas with jiu-jitsu. Because Eddie has, like, revolutionary jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Like, his jiu-jitsu. Like
Really
his,
creative.
His rubber guard setups and all the different things, the paths that he fixed a lot of paths in traditional jiu-jitsu. He changed a lot of things and did some things his way. And when he would describe it to me, I was like, oh, this is a guy who, like, has an idea how to do things. And when people are opposing, he was like, no, I'm going to shut that down and move over here. So
That's interesting. So his brain works that way.
right. So when someone comes at him with an idea, he has an idea, and he's going to try to get that idea through. And when you come at him with some weak attacks on that idea and just expect that he's going to relinquish his hold on the idea, he's like, no, bitch, this don't make no sense. No, you don't have any information. It's going to take someone giving him real, honest to goodness, impossible to deny information that he's going to believe in any of the conspiracies that he believes in being false.
Or it's going to take somebody to explain to him that his feelings control his thinking.
That is true, but there have been conspiracies that have successfully been executed, which makes this whole thing way more confusing.
Sure.
It's like, which one of these were real? To say that all conspiracies are bullshit, you are a victim of, like, some reverse racism.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm usually skeptical of conspiracies, especially government conspiracies, because government is notoriously so completely out of sync and not efficient enough, and certainly there are so many different competing interests within government, just within an administration.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to undermine each other, and that's the history. And it was set up that way. And even if you talk about faking the moon landing, you'd have to have about 1,000, maybe 2,000 people to keep a secret. That's impossible.
not necessarily the case if you just had people thinking on a need-to-know basis with everything compartmentalized. Like, this guy's responsible for making the O-rings. This guy's responsible for making the jets.
It works. I know
I
nothing
don't know
about
how it works
yeah.
either, but I do know that you're talking about, if you were trying to fake the moon landing, one of the things that would be much easier is during the Nixon administration, they were getting used to faking things. Watergate was going on. You know,
But they all got found out, though, you know, because somebody talks.
You're just starting to develop the kind of special effects abilities where you can sort of recreate space scenes, like 2001. That was the big conspiracy theorist dream, was that somehow or another, like, there would be, like, some irrefutable proof that Stanley Kubrick was the one who worked on the moon landing. That was like, if I had found that, I'd be like coming in my pants, like, yes.
But Eddie never
Kubrick.
acknowledges that the same impulse that drives him, which is really to find the truth and to be skeptical of people's claims and even evidence that's been written down.
Yeah.
Human beings have always, for the most part, unless there's something wrong with you, wanted to be in the know.
Right.
I don't know anyone who doesn't want to know the truth. I don't know anybody who
course.
doesn't want to know, who likes being deceived. And so that's why it's almost impossible to keep a secret long term in government.
Well, also,
because somebody
here's
always
another
talks.
thing on the other side of it. Here's one of the reasons why the whole conspiracy thing is so attractive to people. It's because there's a reward chain built into the human psyche of solving a problem that's presented in front of you that could potentially be dangerous. Is a reward chain. And
100%.
this reward chain gets acted upon even if you're talking about nonsense. Even if this is like some Area 51, you know, UFO body fucking, you know, whatever it is. Roswell, New Mexico, the guy who was there, the general, talked to my grandma.
Yeah.
He told me about the coffins, 4-foot-tall coffin. They were little alien babies. They took them to the back of the hearse. They had them embalmed, and my aunt saw it, and they killed her in the forest. Stop.
I know.
I can't.
But when you have an explanation, you don't feel as unsafe.
Yes.
See, if I tell you that there are random things that happen, for example, the shooter in Las Vegas, he was 64 and there were no signs. He was very controlling. If you look at, he's a bit of a sociopath. He had this obsession with control. But if I just tell you that sometimes people wig the fuck out and they just want to shoot a bunch of people, that's not appropriate. Because then
There's also on
that means I
anti-anxiety
have
medication.
Sure, but I'm sure. But there's
He
also
was.
like when you say that stuff, it's like now what you're saying is I have no real way to protect myself.
Yeah.
Even if I carry a gun, take all my vitamins, wear my seatbelt, there's always some crazy shit I didn't think about. It's called fate.
The people I've talked to that understand psych medicines, I've talked to some psychiatrists I've had on the podcast.
I listened to Kelly Brogan talk about
Kelly
this.
Brogan talked about it quite extensively. One of the things that when her and many other psychiatrists brought up is the dissociative properties of a lot of these psych medicines. That someone might have a horrible idea in their head, but the repercussions of it are real. Like acting on it feels real. Wow. But as soon as you have some sort of heavy dissociative psych medicine, it's not even real. Like you don't care anymore. You're like blah blah blah.
You're like
blah,
watching
blah.
yourself in a movie or something.
You're on something that dulls all the highs and the lows. It puts you in this weird state where it's okay. It's okay. It's okay to just kill these people. Like I don't know whether or not you could make the leap from being a person who could never kill somebody to being a person who doesn't have a problem with killing somebody. I don't know if that's true. I mean, maybe that's a chasm too far to cross. But I guarantee you, if you're the type of person that is having some horrible thoughts about like being aggressive to people, and then someone puts you on something that makes you like, I don't give a fuck. Like it's gonna. If you're who knows what the right chemical is too, right? Like if they give you the wrong one, maybe it'll switch you one way, or the right one will turn you the other way, or maybe we should add some Abilify into the mix. Maybe we should throw some of this in there. This is an antipsychotic to help you all even out.
Do you know you can have a lesion on your brain the size of the head of a pin? You can have a lesion, and if it's in the right, there's a specific area of the brain where it can be a tiny lesion that you can't see really, barely with the naked eye, and it can render you a homicidal maniac.
That's my problem. Fighting off the lesion.
I got lesions in my brain.
Is that true?
Yeah.
What is it called? What's the lesion?
I don't know. I could look it up for you, but it's by. But you can. Where I heard it was in a lecture by Daniel Robinson, who was a professor at Oxford and Georgetown, and the smartest man on the planet.
Well, that's why you have to really be careful when you're punching people in the head, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir. That's why it causes. Well, so the guy who
does that make sense?
Remember the guy who captured the 13-year-old girl, not Elizabeth Smart, but the other one. He had 2 children with her. Kept her for 18 years, and she escaped finally.
Yes, that was the guy. That was where'd that take place?
He and his wife. It was somewhere in like I think Seattle or something. I don't know where it was.
He had them in the basement, right?
He had them in the backyard in a shed in a sealed-off shed, and then they lived in the backyard with their daughters until. I mean, literally, she was 18. They would go out once in a while. It was real Stockholm syndrome shit.
Oh my God, and that's so crazy.
Yeah, but he got her pregnant at 13, and it was just a terrible
story. This is
story.
what I was going to tell you about earlier. Did you see the footage where they're selling slaves in Libya?
Is it Libya or is it Iraq?
It's Libya.
Yeah.
There was maybe it's in Iraq too.
Yeah.
But it was Libya, and there was I forget who the title. It was USA Today that had an editorial that said, "Thanks Hillary Clinton," because Hillary Clinton apparently they're blaming her decisions on the reason why we went into Libya and dethroned Muammar Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, you would know maybe more than most, but video of migrants sold in a apparent slave auction in Libya provokes outrage worldwide. It's disturbing, man. When you watch it, they got guns to these dudes' heads, all these photos. I retweeted it. If you want to go to my Instagram, you can see some of the pictures of it. But they have Libya is a failed state now.
Yes.
And it's goddamn terrifying.
In
2017.
Look at that. In 1970, my father just told a story at Thanksgiving, and he was talking about how Dubai and Abu Dhabi have become these incredible countries.
Yeah.
And when he was first there in 1970, 1971, I don't know what it was. Somebody said, "You see that woman over there?" And she was a black woman. She was from Africa somewhere. And my father said, "Yes." He goes, "That's a slave." Oh. And that was in Dubai, I believe, back in the day. I'm sorry to anybody from Dubai. I know you guys have come a very long way, but slavery was order of the day in a lot of countries. I'm not just picking on you.
In a lot of countries.
In a lot of countries. It was the order of the day. I mean, the idea that slavery would no longer be a case, the idea that this would be outrageous to the world in 1940 would be certainly in 1910 10 or something would have been like, what? No, it'll always go on. Slavery is an order, is the way of life. I mean, you know.
I think though today with the ability to film slave auctions on your cell phone and then stream that shit.
I also think it's
AOL.com or whatever this is.
The more you learn about people and how similar we all are, and how, you know, Sam Harris had a really interesting TED talk about this, about the idea that you have to be able to have a conversation about what is the most optimal way to live for a human being. What is the most optimal? Is it true that women are at their best when having to wear a full burqa in 120-degree heat? That's a good question. And by the way, are all opinions welcome at the table? Are you interested, I'm quoting Sam here, but are you interested in the Taliban's point of view on physics? No. And does someone who does for that matter, and he talks about himself, is his point of view on string theory, which he knows nothing about, as valid as somebody who studies string theory? No. But there's a tendency to kind of go, well, you know, that's your culture, and I'm not going to get involved in it, even though it might seem brutal by my standards. You hear this a lot with like the Aztecs and human sacrifice. And it's very taboo to talk about how it was barbaric, because, you know, that was them.
Do you remember you and me and Steven Ranella had a conversation about that? Ranella literally didn't believe me when I told him that they sacrificed 80,000. Is that the number? What was the number when they sacrificed the
people who are not of the sun?
Pyramid of Teotihuacan, Temple of Teotihuacan? Is that how you say it? Teotihuacan? But apparently they sacrificed some fucking insane number of slaves. Yeah. So it's so crazy that if you tell a rational person like Steve Ranella, he's like, what? That can't be true. Until you go and read about it and you go, how horrible were people then? Yeah. They could sacrifice, I want to say it was 80,000 people. I think that was the number.
The sheer numbers, I don't know. I mean, that's a crazy number.
But it's like in a couple of days.
Yeah.
All the people that worked on the temple, apparently after it was over, they just sacrificed them.
Wow.
Just imagine
the Aztecs,
the world.
One of the things they say is Cortez was able to conquer the Aztecs a lot more easily, because the Aztecs had neighbors that fucking hated them, because the Aztecs would go in and basically, if you weren't an Aztec, which means a person of the sun, you'd get sacrificed. So their neighbors were like, oh, you Spanish guys, you 500 guys, really, we'll help you 100%. Those we hate them, So
have you been to Chichen Itza?
No,
dude. There's a fucking platform in Chichen Itza where the Mayans used to behead people. They used to have the sacrifice. There's this like thing. It's like a demon that's lying on its back, and they would sacrifice the people. And the stomach area where they sacrifice people is kind of grooved out from all the bodies they've been slicing on it.
Damn. Well, that's why.
Oh my God, I'm wrong. It's way more. As high as estimates the number of persons sacrificed in central Mexico in the 15th century was as high as 250,000 per year. But go to the construction of temple. I don't know how to say it.
I know this is a very contentious number, by the way.
Of course it is.
So a lot of people are like bullshit, and there's a lot of historians that did the
trying to publish my book, bro. I'm jacking it up 100,000. I mean, if I was a historian, I was like, 40 million people died. On the shores.
Although the whole male population was trained to be warriors, it was
What is the just Google 80,000 Aztecs sacrifice temple of I don't know how to say the word. Teotihuacan. I forget how do you say it, but I believe what they did was they built this fucking spectacular structure and then killed everybody who worked on it. They just killed the Union.
Kind of like El Chapo, when you'd build a tunnel for him. He's like, can't know where it is. Sorry.
Really? So
apparently they'd have a party for him. And then, hey guys, thanks for working on the tunnel. Got a little party, a toast of champagne, and here's some lead poisoning as well.
Super, super hammered. Yeah. Bring them in hookers and then shoot them in the head while they're sleeping.
You can't have people know. They said that the Soviets would do that, like when you would build a tunnel. Did you ever hear that story about how we figured out that
temple mirror? What is this? This is it? Yeah. How do you say that? Make that larger, please. Tino Chitlan. I don't think that's the same one.
That's the 80,000 came up with it.
That's the number of people?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I've seen it say. Well, I think also one of the things you have to deal with when you're dealing with an English deciphering of really